Today I'm going to tell you the 3 secrets to being a successful author. Number 1, read a lot. Number 2, write a lot. Number 3, build an audience. Thank you very much. That's maybe very obvious and simplified advice, but sometimes we forget the big picture, especially if you're surrounded by self-publishing advice and the latest tools and the latest whatever's going on. The problem with those 3 techniques, read a lot, write a lot and build an audience, is it takes a long time to do that before you see any success. And in fact, I mean, who am I to say how to be a successful author? I'm not a successful author. I'm not making a large amount of money from my writing. I am making some money from it, but not enough to live on. So, you know, how can you make this work? Well, I don't have all the answers, and I'm struggling to find the best balance now. But I'm pretty sure that if you can take a long-term view or a mid-term to long-term view, you've got a chance. Well, first of all, read a lot. Read widely. This year I challenged myself to read 100 books in the year. But it's not just any old book. I'm reading a lot of Japanese-related fiction. I mean, in translation, it would take me forever to try and read the Japanese. But translated Japanese fiction, and a lot with an emphasis on detective fiction. Not exclusively. I mean, I think you should look around and read around your subject, you know. But I'm aware that everything I read, it kind of has to have a sort of purpose. I mean, yes, I've got to enjoy it, and some of them I'm just reading because they are enjoyable. But I'm hoping that it's building up a sort of knowledge base. So at least after reading 100 books, you know, probably 50% of them are Japanese, and then another a bigger percentage are detective stories and mysteries of a kind that I want to be able to write well. And other stuff that just interests me, that I'm reading for no particular reason, that I've found in my daily travels. But I'm trying to be sort of more focused on what I read, because if you want to have good output, you've got to have good input. I think that's what the Californians say, or people more au fait with computers. So reading is a key part. You get some writers who say, "Oh, I don't have time to read." Well, then your writing's not going to be very good. You know, unless you're a genius, and if you're a genius, you don't need to watch this video. So it's a no-brainer. You just have to try and find time to fit that in. The other point is got to write a lot. Yes, so writing a lot. Well, easier said than done, isn't it? The problem being that if you're thinking long-term, in the short term, you have to make a living. You have to eat. So balancing the long term with the short term can be tough. So writing a lot, because you don't see any return on your writing. I mean, a financial return on your writing, even if you're writing a great book, it's still a big risk and a big time suck. So fitting in enough writing is tough. I think the general advice that I read somewhere was do the most important stuff first. Put your priority on the stuff that's important. Do it first thing. Thank you. Which means, you know, I'm not much of a morning person, but I try to be when I'm writing, because if I can get something written, then it doesn't matter what happens in the rest of the day, and whatever distractions you have, you can say, well, I did my whatever it is, my 30 minutes or 1 hour or hour and a half or 2 hours, whatever you can squeeze out of the day. Do it first thing, and then if you get distracted, it doesn't matter. You know that you've got it done. And of course, when you're writing, you're not editing. I think that's a lot of beginners make that mistake. They're sort of in editing mode when they're writing, and they scratch out, no, that's not right. No, especially with fiction, it needs a flow. Get in there and write, and consciously tell yourself, don't edit this, and even if it's rubbish, doesn't matter, just keep going and make a note, oh, this is not very good, and keep going, and actually you'll find that it probably isn't that rubbish, and the stuff that you've laboured over is actually no better and sometimes worse than the stuff that you raced through. There may be typos and mistakes and stuff that need sorting out, but that's accepted. But that's how I manage to write a lot, is I deliberately tell myself I am not going to reread this while I am writing. Maybe later in the evening or whatever, I might look at what I've done, but not while you're writing. When you're writing, you're not editing. It's a different skill. So that's something to say about writing. The third point was build an audience. Now, that's perhaps the stuff that even good authors will struggle with. That's the whole realm of marketing. But I read a good book by Austin Kleon, who, Kleon is Kleon. He wrote. He's done a couple of books, but the one I read most recently was Show Your Work, which is basically saying be open about whatever artistic journey you're on, whatever, if you're writing or you're painting or whatever, let people in and know about it using the power of social media and blogging. Not that you have to be a reality TV star type thing and always showing everything that you do, but the age of keeping everything private because it's not perfect yet and only see it when it's perfect, that's kind of gone. That's old-fashioned. And there's more tolerance for imperfection. So you can begin to build an audience by showing the work that you do. And I suppose this is what this YouTube video is about. I try to reach... Well, of course, the best thing is to just keep publishing books and building an audience that way. But in the meantime, while I'm working on that, I'm making YouTube videos. I tweet occasionally on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. And I'm on Goodreads. But I hasten to add that that's not the priority. I just slip those in. In fact, I hardly write anything on Facebook, whatever. But I occasionally will take a picture on Instagram, and that's linked to Twitter and Facebook, so it automatically goes out to that. And I do one YouTube video a month, no more than that. That's my outreach, and hopefully reaching a few people. And the real intention of all these YouTube videos, Twitter, Facebook, Goodreads, is to gather people onto my email subscriber list, and that's where I put actually good stuff every month. I do a monthly newsletter where I put 10 links to things about Japan and publishing and good writing, and particularly crime fiction, the stuff that I'm interested in, that I hope I'm building an audience that will be interested when I finally produce some really good novels, that I've got a ready-made audience. They'll say, oh yeah, we know this guy, we've seen him doing these strange videos in his studio, and now he's written this book, and oh yeah, I'll give it a go, because people will know me, as you will know me quite well from these unshaven videos. So what appears to be sort of a bit haphazard is not actually. There is method in my madness, and in a marketing way, it's a funnel to get everybody into my email list. Although, in the meantime, I'm enjoying doing this, and I hope I'm giving some value to people making these videos, and rather than just me talking about my stuff for the sake of it. We'll see. You be the judge of that. But it is having some payoff, and an interesting thing is I always put a little link to my newsletter on everything I do, almost everything I do. There's always some place where people can find how to get on it, and I do that at the bottom of my reviews of books. So while I'm reading a lot as a main plank of improving my skills, I review all the books that I read, and so they're often Japanese detective books, and I review them, and I'll put a little link on there saying, oh, if you want a monthly newsletter, click here. That's beginning to pay off, actually. This month I've had 10 sign-ups for my newsletter, which may not sound like a lot, but it's 10 sign-ups in a month is a lot for me. Usually I get 1 or 2 if I'm lucky. So that is paying off. So I'm hoping that will work out. And the other important thing to note is that I have some control over these, not control, but I know where these readers are and I can reach those readers. Even though I found them on Goodreads, they're now on my email database. And so I can reach them if I write something good or something that they will be interested in. So I have some control over that, where instead of everything being on Goodreads, where they could change their policy or decide that they don't like me and cancel my account, and then whoa, what do I do? Well, I've got a way to get to the people who might be interested in what I have to say. All good stuff, you might say. So that's read a lot, write a lot, and build an audience. The problem, of course, is that while you're doing that, you're not earning any money. Or at least, if you're concentrating only on that, you're not earning money. So it's a balance. I mean, I try to squeeze it in. I have to make a living. I teach English, and that's how I make the bulk of my money. But publishing does play a part, and I publish my own textbooks for my school, and that's helping me learn about book design and doing covers and all that sort of thing. So it does help, but it is an enormous time suck, and where I might rather be writing a fiction or improving my fiction writing skills, I can't, because I've got to put my attention on teaching because it pays the bills. But they feed off each other. So like I say, long term, I hope it's successful. But of course, in the long run, as John Maynard Keynes says, we're all dead. So you can't be too much thinking about the long term. Occasionally you have to think short term. Of course, I say you should write 1 hour every day, and recently I've been working on a textbook for junior high school kids, year 3, and that's been taking my 1 hour that I have free to write. So my fiction has been sitting on a shelf collecting dust. My writing, I am reading a lot, but I'm failing to write the fiction, and that's an annoyance. But it's up to me to squeeze out another hour every day, or near as damn it every day. I will try. I've got some other projects. Make a simplified version of Macbeth to be acted out as a play by my students, which I probably will release as a book. I think Shakespeare's out of copyright now, so that will be another project and will turn into a book. And it's a screenplay, isn't it? I mean, it's a play, not for the screen, but that I'm kind of looking forward to that. Might be stretching my skills a little, but that might be good. Anyway, I'm beginning to waffle now, so I will be quiet. One final thing: if you are interested in self-publishing, there are lots of resources that you can get. I'll just tell you one right now, is Paul Teague's Self-Publishing Journeys podcast. If you like podcasts at all, I can recommend wholeheartedly Paul Teague, that's Teague, and he does a self-publishing diary every week. I think it's Saturday or Monday, I can't remember what day it comes out, but it's always good, lots of information, and shows you how to go about it. He's written, I guess, 12, 13 novels now. He's not quite successful. I mean, he's not a full-time author, but he's a part-time author, and I think he will probably make it soon. So he shares everything that he learns, and he has a good course. But anyway, check him out. Right, I am waffling now. Talk to you next month.